after meeting with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky, President Trump posted on his Truth Social that he now believes Ukraine can, and it sounded like should, recapture all of its territory. So let's get our foreign correspondent Amy Kellogg in on this conversation. Amy, great to see you. What has been the seismic shifts in Europe to how President Trump seems to have done a 180?
Well, Allison, this lengthy Truth Social post really, if you will, trumped that very lengthy UN speech because it was such a dramatic departure from things that Trump has said in the past. He not only said that with NATO's support, Ukraine should be able to recapture the territory that Russia now holds. But he went on to say, and possibly then some, without giving any details, of course, about how that would happen. But he lashed out at Russia, saying that Russia is a paper tiger, not a real military power, and that its economy is in very, very dire straits. Now, it was interesting because he did not, in his speech, really make much mention of the Russia-Ukraine war at all. As you guys pointed out, it was about bashing climate change theories and green energy. But he did say something about Russia and the countries that are still buying Russian energy. Let's take a listen to Trump. I guess perhaps we don't have that comment, but he was effectively saying that the countries that are still buying Russian oil, namely Russia, China, and India, are really doing the wrong thing, and he is happy to sanction them. But he also pointed out that Europeans are still buying an awful lot of Russian oil
Amy,
and gas, and
sorry to
they
interrupt.
stop.
We do have it, and then we'll get your reaction. We do have it. Here's President Trump at the UN.
Oh, good.
China and India are the primary funders of the ongoing war by continuing to purchase Russian oil. But inexcusably, even NATO countries have not cut off much Russian energy and Russian energy products, which, as you know, I found out about 2 weeks ago, and I wasn't happy. Think of it. They're funding the war against themselves. Who the hell ever heard of that one? There we must reject.
And that is a point. Yeah, and that is a point that he's making, an important point. But back to that tweet that he put out after the speech and after meeting with Ukrainian President Zelensky, whom you may recall he previously lambasted back in February in that very uncomfortable Oval Office meeting for not having any cards to play at all. There are some people who are suggesting that because Trump at the end of the post says he wishes both sides good luck, he wishes everyone well, that perhaps this could not be about Trump amping up support for the Ukrainian cause, but rather about him washing his hands of the conflict. That we do not know, and we will wait to see. But what we do know is that President Zelensky, who will be speaking shortly at the United Nations today, was very excited about what Trump put out on that social media post last night and called Trump himself a, quote, game changer.
Washing his hands of a war he said he would end within day one of his administration. So that's remarkable. Did he meet with anyone else of note, Amy, there at the UN?
He did. And it's interesting, Jim, to point out, and I'm sure you've all noticed that yourself, there's a lot of bombast. There's boasting, and there's high critique of everyone else effectively in his speeches in such formats like the UN yesterday. But then when you see him meeting with people one-on-one or in smaller groups, he appears very cordial with people. We did see him sitting with Turkish President Erdogan and the Emir of Qatar and some other leaders of Muslim nations to try to work out some progress on the war in Gaza. And he had an awful lot of meetings during the day. So I think, though, the biggest news remains that he put out this very supportive social media post in favor of Ukraine. The Kremlin has already responded to that, saying none of his allegations are true, that Russia is not a paper tiger, it is a bear, and there's no such thing as a paper bear. But Trump did say it, and we will see what sort of impact it has on this war in its third year, the war that, as Trump put it yesterday, should have ended in just a few days because Russia is such a bigger power than Ukraine. And it's amazing that Ukraine has held on as long as it has.
Amy, thank
Kellogg.
you very much. Yeah, for all the context. Great to talk to you as always.